Hello and welcome to the Mobile Only Show, episode 2. I'm here with Justin Dillon. Hello, Justin.
Hi, Yanni. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Excellent. Excellent. It's
Great.
a beautiful day here in Florida. So
It is. So, first question. Who are you? And what's the best song to describe your life?
I am Justin Dillon. I'm the CEO and founder of JustCharteit, a luxury travel service, as well as an aviation broker. I buy and sell aircraft for individuals. The best song to describe my life, it's funny, actually it was a running joke from years past, was by the Pet Shop Boys called It's a Sin.
I don't know this one, but I'll definitely listen to it.
Yeah.
So
And it's just because I was always a very in the moment person. I didn't really go through life like there was a plan for my life, and I kind of rebelled and pushed against it to pave my own way, to make my own choices, to define the life I want.
So how did you end up being the CEO of JustCharteit?
I bought a plane and had to figure out how to pay for it. That's literally the story. I wanted to own my own jet ever since I was in probably elementary school, growing up with the flashy shows of the early 80s. And in 2019, I had the opportunity to purchase a Learjet. This is right before the pandemic and right before aircraft prices skyrocketed. And I did. And then I said, well, now I got to figure out how to pay for this thing. So I sat down and talked with the gentleman who owned a charter company at Part 135. And he said, well, you can always put this into charter service. And that was what we did. And then the pandemic happened, and it turned out to be one of our better years. So
congrats then.
It worked out very well across the board. So it was a matter of circumstance, and there was a little, I hate to say the pandemic was a lucky thing, but in a way it was, because all of a sudden there was an increased demand to fly private, and aircraft prices went up. So normally an aircraft is a liability. It's not considered an asset because it doesn't appreciate. Quirky twist of fate, the pandemic happened, aircraft prices shot up, and it became an appreciable asset. Just as a matter of circumstance, not as a matter of normality.
Well, in every crisis, there's opportunities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was actually said, recessions and depressions are when billionaires are made. And that's because you have the most opportunity when these things happen to seize, because there's so many opportunities. And if you grab one and you focus on it, you can move forward.
True. And so in your work, from our early discussions, you work as a mobile-only user, isn't that correct?
That is correct. Actually,
how did you end up using your mobile as a sole computer?
It actually started long before most people would realize. It started in 1993. And I don't think people realize that what was happening then as compared to what's happening now.
I was 1 year old.
I was 18 turning 19, and I purchased a HP 95LX DOS-based Palm Top, which ran Lotus 123, had email capabilities, and had a dock. And it was very easy to take this to and from classes while I was at university, to and from my internship, and do homework on the go. Like, I was constantly moving, and then I realized I had all these other capabilities I could do with it. And the internet really wasn't a thing yet. It was coming online. Prodigy had just launched. AOL was launching. But for the most part, you were connected to, ARPANET. You were connected to these early stage university connected networks, and IRCs and internet relay chat rooms, and you could just chat with people all over the world and share ideas, which is what it was originally designed to be anyway on an academic level. And I think that's when I saw the future of really handheld computing being, I don't think it's quite there yet, but I still see it more advanced now than it's ever been. Yeah, I had the vision then, and I still support the vision. And I actually wanted to do my own podcast. I wanted to do my own YouTube channel for a long time. And I just never get around to it because I stay focused on my main business. But I love mobile technology, and I always have. And I think my first real smartphone was a Bell Simon, which was 1996-ish, right around there. Long before we knew what mobile smartphones would be. So.
Long before the iPhone.
Oh, yeah, long before that. I was a Nokia 9000 communicator user. The running joke is my friends will sit there and say, you've owned like 7 computers in your life, but you've had probably 1,000 handhelds.
Whoa. And how did you perceive the arrival of Samsung DeX long before maybe Microsoft's Continuum and even before the Motorola lapdock experience?
I think Motorola was the first with the lapdock experience, and that just it made my heart race. It was like, this is what I wanted. This is what I want to do. And I remember immediately switching and getting the Motorola and getting a lapdock 100 and saying, I'm going to do this. And I was able to hook up a hard drive, and then I got the dock and I could connect it to the TV. And it's like, this is what the world is supposed to be. Like, this is how the future should evolve. And then when DeX came out, I was even more excited. And when lapdock started resurfacing more and more, I kept seeing it as this is the future. I had said one time that desktops are going to replace actual servers. They're going to be so powerful they can do what a server does. And a laptop, which is going to no longer be a companion device, is going to become a primary computer because it's going to be strong enough. And that happened. And then I said, the next thing is going to be, because I had Windows CE devices at this time, Jornadas, Cassiopeias, that these devices were going to replace the laptops. And then I think it was 1997, the movie The Saint came out, and Val Kilmer uses a 9000 communicator. And I said, I have to have that. I have to have that. And I actually went to work for a GSM provider in the US that was just launching. And I got my hands on one of the phones, and it absolutely changed my life. A friend of mine said, you are the one person who does not need an actual computer. You don't need a laptop. You need something you can back up your communicator to, something you can connect to for services that aren't offered in just your communicator. So we decided to do a thought experiment, and we pulled the battery from my laptop. We set my laptop up with a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse and remote access. And I said, I'm going to do this for 1 week. And 1 week became 2.
When was that?
And 2 became 3. 1999. And 1 week became 2, and then 2 became 3, and then it became 2 months. And I just never went back.
So you're a really early adopter.
Very early adopter. Very, very early adopter. I traveled to Southeast Asia with a DOS-based Palm Top and set up back in the early 90s when I bought my HP, and I had a home BBS setup that had 5 modems in it, and one of them was a private line just for me, and I would post all of my travels and what was happening in my life there, and people could log in and read it and share it, and I did it all with my handheld. So there were times when I needed a computer to do things, but I think it was really about the time of in the 98 is where I started not needing the computer. I would buy a computer every 5 or 6 years because it would just sit there and run in the background.
Did you possess a Motorola lapdock?
I had the lapdock 100. I did not have the 500 with the Atrix because I did not use. I wasn't using AT&T at the time. I was on our Sprint network here, and they didn't have the Atrix phone, but they had another phone that would do it. And then when I moved off of that and I moved into back to AT&T, the Atrix had gone, but there was another Motorola that was out. I can't remember it. And it would work
Razr,
with the laptop.
But you had to tweak it. I had one.
It wasn't the Razr either. It was another one. This one was actually designed to do it. It had the two plugs. It had the HDMI micro and the USB side by side.
You had to unscrew the connectors from the lapdock to switch side to be compatible with the Razr. I had one. I did it.
Yeah, the Razr you had to, but this one you didn't have to. This one was specifically for the docks. And then I think at one point I kind of started letting it go, and I got a Note. And I love the Note because I could make quick sketches and do things for, the work I was doing at the time. And I stayed with Samsung ever since. And then when DeX came out, I was the happiest person in the world. So.
Yeah. So you didn't go through Microsoft Continuum phase?
No, I never did the Microsoft Continuum phase. Nope, never did.
And that's very interesting. How did you interpret the coming of Samsung DeX? Like, how did you react to that in 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2017 was when it came out. There were no lapdocs. There were no lapdocs at the time. There was just the DeX dock station to the TV. And I think at that point I did have to have a computer again for some things, mainly because of the work I was doing with security, and we were doing a lot of geospatial stuff, developing 3D modeling using GIS services. So I had to have a laptop, but what was nice is I did have the extension services on the phone, so I could pull up all of those things remotely and look at them. I started embracing it a little bit more because I was living on a boat at the time, and I didn't have a lot of space. And at that point, I had actually switched from the S8. I had switched from Samsung to the Moto Z platform. And I had the projector, and I had the camera, I had the speaker, and the battery pack. I had all these pieces for it. And I was really starting to embrace it there with Bluetooth keyboards and mice. And then when the S8 came out, I think my wife and I had them for a very short time, about 6 months, and we went to Notes. We got rid of them and went to Notes. And that's when we started really embracing DeX plugged into a monitor that was mounted on the bulkhead of the boat, and we could use it more, and it became more functional in that aspect. I went through the phases with it, and I wanted a dock. I actually almost went to Continuum because of the lapdock. And then I cobbled together a lapdock 100 from Motorola with some weird adapters to plug into it. And that was my first lapdock, was still using the Motorola lapdock, but using it with DeX.
So it's interesting because you actually used the Motorola mods 2016, 2017. And at the same time, at the same time, I was evangelizing Motorola, trying to make them switch from their mods market to the mobile-only market. I was trying to explain them, hey, maybe there is a future for the mods, but what is for certain is the mobile-only, and you should come back to making desktop modes as you did in the past with the Motorola Atrix lapdock. And what they told me is problem is that we are focused now on the mods, and because we've had a failure in the past, we don't want to go back to making the same exact thing again. And now history give me a reason, because they did it again with the Motorola Ready 4. Have you tried it, by the way?
No, I have not. I have become a hopelessly devoted Samsung person at this point. But there was a place for mods and there was a place for both, and I don't think they saw it. And I remember kind of sketching together an idea of a lapdock where you pull the panel off the back of your Moto Z and you dock it to the lapdock like a mod. Clip it onto the back, and now you have your lapdock environment. And I was a big proponent of being able to do those things. I think Motorola's mistake in that was they should have looked at Steve Jobs and said, well, wait a second. Steve Jobs said the single biggest mistake was the Apple Newton. But it was supported by its community for 5-6 years after it had stopped production. But it was really one of their biggest successes. And if it weren't for the Newton, we wouldn't have had the iPad, and we wouldn't have had the iPhone. The iPhone was actually the prototype to the iPad. It was, if we build it this big, we know it'll work this big. So if we go from something this big, it's going to work in something this big. And it was a brilliant move, because you could make a whole lot more product from one single sheet of capacitive screen material by doing it in a phone size. It was really a good way to test it. So I think they should have looked at Jobs and said, well, wait a second. He actually went back to the one thing he said was a failure. Maybe we should too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So how do you accomplish your everyday work with DeX now?
So DeX is, for us, is what it is. It's a desktop experience and environment for us to work in. Most of our systems exist online in the cloud and have web interfaces. So a lot of it comes down to using Chrome or Samsung Internet Beta. I actually recommend the beta to people over Samsung Internet. It advances quicker and is somehow more stable at the same time.
True.
And that allows us to access these different web environments. So we use it for everything from booking to training to webcasts and webinars. We have various setups that we can use for these things. We have, let's see, like we have the video conference TV, which is, it's a television setup there, and we connect to it and do presentations on it. But we've started moving further away from Microsoft. So we'll use things like WPS Office, we'll use Google Docs, things like that, because I think the biggest thing holding DeX back and the mobile-only lifestyle back is app support from the companies that have their business model focused on computers and not on mobility.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what's in your bag at the moment when you travel? Do you travel in private jet, by the way?
Occasionally. I do like turboprops as well. I don't travel as much as I used to. And it's a lot shorter, so turboprops are way more efficient in that aspect. I am a big fan of Bang & Olufsen, and I have been my whole life. So I have a Bang & Olufsen A1
headset,
2nd gen, Bluetooth speaker. I love this thing, mainly because it also functions as a speakerphone for conference calls, which makes it absolutely fantastic for an on-the-go product. My E8 headphones, which are probably 4 years old and haven't failed me yet, so I haven't needed to replace them. Connected, I'm using my Z Fold right now to do this, so I can't show it, which is a Z Fold 4, 0.5 terabyte. I have a USB-C mini dock attached to the side of it to allow for power, as well as USB-A, micro SD, and regular SD to connect my digital camera, which I should have brought out with me, but it's in my bag always, which is a Panasonic Lumix 100, LX100. My Rode video, Rode Micro Me, whatever, wireless Me mics, great for doing production work when we're like videoing a plane for somebody. My other half, my partner in life and my partner in business, Caitlin, she uses an S24 or 23 Ultra. I'm sorry. She's considering the S24 Ultra now, but she just got her 23 for a lot of the video and
DeX as well.
Yep, she uses DeX as well. She has actually taken it more extreme. She very rarely ever connects to DeX. She does most everything from her phone in the actual Android environment, which is pretty impressive. Let's see. What else is in me? What do I have with me? Digital voice recorder. I don't know why, but I know my phone does it, but I still carry one.
Yeah, I was about to ask why.
I still carry one
because it's a thing to carry it, but also you have to use it.
You know what it is? It is very actually easy to just pull this out, push a button, and start recording rather than having to take my phone out. Especially if I'm using DeX and I'm working on a project, I can just make a quick note to myself.
You do that?
Yeah, I carry an extra charger.
Okay. So you might be a user of the AI functionalities, you know, where you say something and you just have transcript into text.
I do.
Notes.
I use the AI for real-time language translation. I have
might
clients.
Be better to do it on your phone then.
For that, there is, but for my these are just for personal notes. Like,
okay,
I don't know, maybe
like Michael Jackson. You have an idea of a song, you just needs it.
Yeah, I need it. I need whatever I'm working on. I just need to be able to do it quick and easy. Will it probably go away at some point? Most likely, but I don't know. I mean, I've actually used it as an MP3 player too. So,
any power bank?
256 gig thumb drive, another micro dock that just is for media, various adapters.
Looks like it's well organized.
Yeah, C to A, C to C, male to females. Oh, let's see. Security keys.
Okay.
People are always like, why do you show off your security keys? Because you can't do anything with them. And then I have a little tiny set of adapters that I carry with me. A SIM card for a country I frequent. Pill bottle. Yeah, that's it. And it all actually fits really nicely in this. Except for the speaker, obviously. Yeah, the speaker doesn't fit in. But I carry
it's not a real backpack, it's more like a
it's just a little hand thing. I do have a sling or
sleeve, yeah.
Yeah, I have a sling that I use. It all depends. I have different bags for different, depending on what my day is going to be like. Do I need my lapdock? I have a different bag for that. If I'm just going to go out downtown and go for a little bit of nightlife networking, you know, it can be just the phone. I do. I have a couple of power banks, depending on what I'm doing for the day. Usually they're Anker and Oki. Those are my power banks of choice, and I'm really getting into the GAN stuff.
Okay, very interesting. So it's a very light pack then.
It is. It's very, very light. It's very. I would say that it is. I'm really a techno minimalist in that aspect. Probably my cameras add most of the bulk. I have a GoPro Hero 9 Black and my Panasonic, and so they're kind of with me a lot because I really love photography in the older sense. So the LX100 is much more retro. I have all the wheels to turn and do stuff, and so I enjoy that. And it's got a Leica lens on it, and I just couldn't bring myself to spend $1,700 on the Leica when I could buy the Panasonic, which builds the Leica Deluxe. Yeah, it's little things like that you think about, especially like, you know, running your own business. Where do I divert resources to? You know, $700 for that camera, about $1,000 I could spend on marketing.
But it's very surprising that for a tech minimalist or mobile-only user, you still add up a device when your smartphone has the same exact functionality. I'm talking about vocal notes, or I'm talking about pictures, photographs. Because do you think that the smartphone is not enough?
No, I think it's just age. I think it's because I'm 50. I think I'm so comfortable utilizing certain things that just makes it easier. And to be honest, I think that's where the Z Fold lacks the most, is in the cameras. I think the cameras are not. If I was running around with a S24 Ultra, I probably would feel differently about things. Like, I probably wouldn't carry different things. But for instance, the GoPro, I'm not going to mount the phone to an outside of a plane and fly, down to the Caribbean with my phone hanging off the side of a plane. I'm just not going to do that. But I will mount the GoPro out there. Things like that. Truthfully, when you travel to certain countries, flashing around a very high-dollar smartphone isn't always the best idea. But a camera is just a camera, and because it's a retro camera, most people don't realize that it's not, like, they think it's an old camera. So there's a lot of, I guess, security aspects involved with it too. I still actually use pen and paper from time to time, but I do love my S10 Pro, and I do write notes on the Z Fold. Actually, I have a question for you about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but with the Note, it had a way of not recognizing your hand.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can't get that on my Fold. If I'm writing, for some reason, it's still recognizing my hand as what I'm writing with. So I get duplicates of what I'm writing with my hand blurring it and the pen writing it perfectly.
Yeah.
I know there's a setting. I just can't find it.
I know you're right. I had the Note 9 and there was a sort of palm rejection feature. But I haven't tried the Note on my Fold 5. So maybe if someone in the comment can help you.
I hope so.
But have you tried Googling it?
I've tried Googling it, but I can't seem to find it for the Z Fold as much as I can find it for, like, oh, here's how you do it in the Note. I know how to do it in the Note. The Note is, I know how to do it in the S23. I know how to do it in the S24.
And do you have the official pen?
Yes. Yeah, I have a S Pen Pro, and then I have the little tiny pen, which ironically I keep losing, so I keep buying them. The Z Fold only pen.
I know that they switched technology because the pen from the Note was an active one that had a battery in it, and the one from the Fold has no battery in it.
Right.
So maybe it's a different one.
No, because when I use my Pro, it has the battery and has to be charged because I get all of the same gesture functions. It has a USB port on the back, and I just C to C into the phone to charge it.
Oh, that's the big one.
Yeah, I have the big one.
I see.
I have the little ones too, but I keep losing those. Those are the ones I keep buying over and over again because I literally lose them. Like, probably once every month I'll lose it. Yeah. And then I'll buy another one and I'll find it. And I'll give it to a friend and then I'll lose one and I'll buy another.
Typical. So on my side, I switched from the Note 9 to a Remarkable. Oh, this one.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, the screen from the surface from the Note 9 was too small to write down something, so I needed something bigger. And then I started having some ideas about exactly what they have created with Remarkable. So then I did not bother and I just acquired it, and it's just great.
I love the regular size moleskins, the 5x8s. I've used those types of notebooks my whole life. And I keep swearing, I want a Remarkable. I want a Remarkable. And then I think to myself, if I'm going to buy something that big, I'll go buy an S9 tablet, or when they come out with the next Galaxy Tab. which
Yeah.
I do actually think about buying more and more and using it more like the computer aspect. And I love how Samsung has really kind of created the pairing of the tablet with the Z Flip as the secondary piece. But I stand by this, and the Remarkable Watch is this. The minute you make a 7-inch version of it, I'll be the first person in line for it.
So what's your favorite feature of DeX?
My favorite feature of DeX.
Yeah, the one you say, oh, I cannot live without it, and I won't find it on anything else.
Well, actually, I'm not sure that there is something in DeX that I won't find anywhere else that isn't part of the Samsung experience to begin with. But my favorite function of DeX in general is the ability to connect it and immediately go from what I was working on in my Fold on a smaller screen and move it over. It becomes big. It opens in an expanded form. And now my phone is like a touchpad. It just, I can fluidly move between environments. And I think that's what I love the most about it. It's the ability, and it's the same thing. If I want to wirelessly cast it up onto a screen, I can. If I want to, plug it in, if I want to use my Soro TV and flip it and use DeX on it, it's not DeX, it's the Samsung ecosystem that I'm probably more in love with. But it is the fluidity of DeX and being able to go between different environments. I also really love the fact that there are certain applications that we use that somehow seem to become more capable when they're in DeX.
Like what?
LumaFusion.
Which
it
one is
seems
this?
like LumaFusion video editing software.
Oh, okay.
It seems that when I move it from the Fold to the DeX environment, the control functionality of it, and it just becomes, it literally becomes a desktop workstation at that point. And I think that is phenomenal. And I think that's the biggest problem with a mobile world we were talking about earlier is the way apps interface. So Microsoft Office isn't as functional as Microsoft Office for a computer, but the phone is as powerful as a computer. And I think the best thing about DeX is the ability to recycle and reuse, more reuse products that you normally would just get rid of. Like, say you have an i3 laptop laying around.
Yep.
And you and I have talked about this numerous times on the phone about the Palm interface with the touchpads and palm rejection on that. And you do it really well with the MiraBook. When you start typing it, as you're hitting a key, it disables that as you're fluidly moving. I don't type really well, so for me, I have to think about it. But at the same time, let's say I have an i3 laptop laying around, I can go get that. I can install a very stripped down version of Windows with only the pieces, with only the modules needed to run DeX. It doesn't have to have high RAM. It doesn't have to have anything because DeX is doing all the work in its own environment. But now I have palm rest protection because it's built into that. So
And
it's a great way to just kind of upcycle product in a sense. And at the same time, I think we generate a whole lot less waste with products like your MiraBook because you're not needing high power processors. You're not needing, you have a small Linux computer inside of it to do things like your palm rejection, your lighting control, your battery management. This is all you need. And I think we saw a lot of that during the pandemic where Raspberry Pis became so powerful and capable that you could replace your regular computer for most stuff. I think most people don't use 90% of what their computers are capable of or what the software suites are capable of. But at the same time, I think the things that do need to be used are what gets left out of the mobile apps.
So in your opinion, what will smartphones look like in the future, like in 5 years?
I think we're gonna roll backwards a little bit. I think they're gonna go back to being small. I think foldables are really the future because we're gonna get back to flips. Folds becoming tablet, the fold like the tablet environment. But I see smartphones becoming much more powerful, much more integrated into using devices such as the Mirror Book and the Mirror Dock, where it is our device. It is everything we need to have with us. I would like to see less data mining from it. I would like to see less free apps, more paid apps, because let's face it, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And so I would like to see a return to the Nokia Smart days where, oh, I paid $35 for my app for unlimited support of updates. Great. I would happily pay that as opposed to, oh, I got this for free, and now they're going to track everything I do for targeted marketing. I think we're going to see people want more of that anonymity back in their devices. And I think that's going to come not so much as we're seeing a movement to dumb phones and to feature phones, but I think we're going to see those become the smartphones that they were, with these incredible capabilities of being able to connect to other things and to interface and to do these things.
And how do you see AI interact with all of that?
For a while, I was really terrified of AI. I really was. And I wasn't quite sure how to embrace AI, because what I've seen over the last 30 plus years of really being, and I've been a techno kid my whole life. I mean, I got my first computer, I was 6. But what I see is great technology that gets used for not its intended purpose. So the internet, the greatest medium the world had ever seen for the sharing of ideas, the development of society, all of this, and it's mainly used for the adult film industry.
Yeah.
My fear of AI was that's what it was going to end up being. It was just going to be used for this. And then I started embracing it. It is used for that, I know. And of course, there's always the other. If you want to know what a really great technology is, look what the criminals use. Seriously.
Bitcoin.
Seriously. Yeah, Bitcoin, Monero, cell phones back in the 80s, going forward, encryption, PGP, you name it.
The dark web.
The dark web. These people do not use bad technology. Like, there's too much at stake for them. Like, seriously.
They are the most brilliant early adopters.
Absolutely. Like, everybody's like, if you could be James Bond or you could be a Bond villain, who would you be? I'm like, the Bond villain, of course. He has the best toys.
Yeah. Ahead of everybody.
He's ahead of everybody. And I think that's actually kind of interesting, because in today's world, we look at, a generation even below yours is looking at success as a bad thing. And I think over the time we've been programmed, because who's the bad guy? Who's the villain in every hero's story? The bad guy is somebody who is extremely successful. Who's the hero? The one who suffered, the one who did this, the one who clawed his way up to something. And there's a great line in The Dark Knight where he says, you either live long enough to see yourself become the hero or you become the villain. Something like that. And it is funny because now, people used to want to be the guy in the limousine. They used to aspire to that. Now they shun it. But at the same time, these are the people who are advancing everything. Like, if you hate Bill Gates because he's a trillionaire or whatever, or whatever, you hate Elon Musk because he's a trillionaire and he flies around in his private jet. Well, that's great. But why do you hate him? Because of what he's accomplished, or the fact that you haven't accomplished it yet? And the word is yet. And that's the big difference in the world today.
Jealousy.
It's jealousy. It really is jealousy. So we do embrace AI. We love AI. We use it for letters, for content creation. We use it for follow-ups. We built our entire CRM system around a series of letters and email and everything that we use AI to generate because it can be done quickly and rapidly, and it's a great way for rapid deployment. We're in the process of building a new JustCharteit website, and we're using ChatGPT to build the website for us. Like, incredible. It's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, these are, if you embrace it for what it truly is capable of, it's a phenomenal thing. I mean, the fact that now I can deal with clients without having to have a translator because my phone will live translate my voice and their voice back and forth to me. I love that. That's incredible. I mean, that's fantastic. Texting, emailing, instant translation, and it's, from what I understand from my clients and my friends who speak multiple languages, it's really close. I mean, you and I haven't tried it. I was thinking about, writing you an email and translating it to French to see what you thought.
So, your frightened part of AI has disappeared completely?
No, I'm still pretty sure that people are going to use it for a lot of nefarious stuff. But I think that there's a friend of mine is a software developer, and he said he never has to worry about losing his job to an AI program. And I looked at him kind of funny. He goes, no. See, end users would have to vividly describe everything they want the application to do for it to work properly. And let's just face it, that's never going to happen. So,
fortunately, yeah.
I laugh about it, but it is true. And I thought about, because we were in the process of conceptualizing an app for JCI, because there's a lot of private jet apps out there, but there aren't any that bridge the gap between jets, yachts, villas, and being able to do like a luxury version of Expedia. And can we use AI to help develop this app? And talking to a friend of mine who's an app developer, he said, I think this is the real test of what I can do and what AI can do, and can we bridge the gap together? And I think that's where we're going to see it. It's not going to put software developers out of jobs. I think they're going to need to learn to embrace it and to work with it for rapid development. I mean, think about in your line, with your company, how well could you use AI to rapidly design and render a new Mirabeau?
I don't think I could use that for it now. Maybe in a few years, and also I really like the man-shaped stuff, meaning that it has been done by a human. I think in the future there will be maybe a label saying this has been made by AI, this has been made by a human.
But we already see that now. We see that a lot now. This was actually handcrafted as opposed to this was done in a CNC lab. Which product has a greater value in the world? Obviously, the one that someone took the time to shape themselves, as opposed to being molded by a robot.
Yeah.
We see that in the car industry, in the automotive world. Look at the vehicles that are hand assembled versus the ones that are all done by robots.
And is AI the technology that most amazed you in your life, or is there something else?
It did not. It's not the most amazing technology. Yeah. It's not. It's. I expected AI 25 years ago.
25 years ago. Whoa.
Yeah, I expected it 25 years ago. I think what has amazed me the most is truly mobile technology, because for a long time we lived in a world where we had dumb terminals that accessed server information, and then we had computers that did everything themselves, and now we're going back to dumb terminals that access information. But I think mobile technology is what has really amazed me, because it has created a world where you can be a digital nomad. You can go off and do anything you want anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection. And I don't think I have a lot of friends who are professional hackers, you know, white hats, security testers. And a lot of them aren't even using computers anymore. They're setting up servers. They're setting up cloud devices. They're using command and control systems, and they're doing it off of a Z. They're running their entire engagements off of Z Folds. They're running it off of Raspberry Pis. They're running it off of, you know, handheld, you know, OnePluses, you know, mainly phones and tablets. And I think mobile technology has been the one that has really impressed me the most. I would have liked to have seen it evolve quicker, but I expected AI to be around 25 years ago. And I think that goes back to an old television show, Knight Rider. The car, that he was an artificial intelligence. And the question always was, how could he store all this data? And I think it was like
capability.
Okay, not sure what that was. I think I was about 10 years old when I said, well, it's because he's a dumb terminal. He's accessing the flag servers that has all the information, and he's doing it wirelessly via a satellite connection or a microwave transmission. And everyone looked at me. I'm 10 years old, and they're like, huh? I go, that's going to be the future. We're going to be able to access all of this information from something really small. And in his case, the car was something small compared to what a computer was at the time. So I expected AI because it was the Knight Industries 2000. I expected it a lot sooner.
But it was only for heroes at the time. Now it's everybody.
But that just means everybody can be a hero in their own right. I mean, you really can. And I mean, mobile technology and the internet has made Andy Warhol's, you know, prediction come true that he said, in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. And think about how many times somebody posts, you know, 10,000 things on Instagram, and then the one goes viral, and they're famous for 15 minutes while everybody has to see this. And then they have to go back to doing what they're doing and hope to catch lightning in a bottle one more time.
Yeah, it's incredible to see how he was right. So right.
And being the hero isn't about saving the world. It could just be saving your family. It could just be going out and creating a world for, or, you know, that you can provide for your family. Maybe you didn't grow up very affluent, and now you want to take care of your mom and dad. And now, because of technology, you have more of an opportunity to do that. I mean, in terms of how do you define a hero? Like, is it always about struggle and sacrifice, or is it about, you know, the success of being able to give back? Heroes ultimately give back. And I think that's what people aren't, you know, realizing in terms of when, oh, we hate this person, we hate Bill Gates. Oh, now we love him because he's donating so much to charity. Great, that's fantastic. But we're in two different continents. We're in two different countries. And in the United States, all of his charitable work just means he gets to keep more money in his pocket because that's non-taxable. Like, let's think about why people do these things. Yeah, but yet he's now the hero. Yeah, it's an incentive. I mean, you do the things the government wants you to do, the government rewards you, and they reward you by not paying as many taxes.
Yeah. Question is,
we both live in high tax countries.
Would he still do that if there was no incentive? That's the question.
I guess that goes back to the paradox in the United States of taxes and Warren Buffett saying, I pay exactly what I have to pay. Now, on your tax return, this is the US says this is the minimum to submit. You can submit more if you want, but nobody does. Why do we have to force people to do something that they claim they would do if they were forced to do it when they have the option of doing it anyway? So that's a paradoxical situation. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I think it's hilarious. Taylor Swift gets railroaded constantly for flying around in her jet or owning 3 of them. Bill Gates owns multiple jets. He flies in them, but we don't care what Bill Gates does because you know what? He gave a lot of money to charity. If she started giving a lot of money to charity, no one would care if she flew in her private jet.
True. All right, so let's review some articles. Have you seen the not the launch, but the announcement of GPT 4.0 for Ohmium?
I have seen it. I haven't read too much into it. To be honest, I'm still using 3.5. It's free.
Yeah, same. And but this one looks incredible. So
it does.
Now this is an article from TechRadar. Now it's an assistant, but more lifelike than ever, and it's really impressive how human-like it is. And they say, beyond making this version of ChatGPT faster and free to more folks, GPT 4.0 expands how you can interact with it, including having natural conversations via the mobile phone or desktop apps. And I'm going to show you a video.
I would love to see this become way more mainstream, just because I think Bixby and Google are not there yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as you can see, you can chat with ChatGPT in real time.
So let's move to this part.
But importantly, don't tell me the solution, just help give me hints along the way. So I'm going to write down a linear equation on a sheet of paper and I'll show you. And then I'd love your help working me through it. But importantly, don't tell me the solution, just help give me hints along the way.
Got it. Okay, I see it.
No, I didn't show you yet. Just give me help along the way. 1 second.
Whoops. I got too excited. I'm ready when you are.
So they faked the voice of Scarlett Johansson. And they got in trouble for that.
What equation did I write down there?
Ah, I see it now. You wrote down 3x plus 1 equals 4.
Yep, exactly. So what's the first step I should take to try to solve this?
The first step is to get all the terms with x on one side and the constants on the other side. So what do you think we should do with that plus 1?
Okay, I'm going to try to subtract 1 from both sides, and then I'll see what I get.
Great idea. Perfect. Now, what do you get when you subtract 1 from both sides?
Okay, so ChatGPT, this is what I ended up with. How does this look?
Spot on. Now you've isolated the term with x on one side, and it looks like 3x equal 3. What do you think we should do next to solve for x?
I'm not sure. Can you give me another hint?
Of course.
So you see, this technology can replace.
This should not scare programmers. It should scare teachers.
Exactly, teachers, technical supports, and all conversational work. Basically, it's so worrying, but at the same time, it's so futuristic. Have you seen the movie Her?
No.
So basically, it's a human falling in love with an AI voice, and the AI voice is done by Scarlett Johansson, and that's why the founder of ChatGPT really wanted Scarlett Johansson as the voice for the GPT-0 version.
I'll have to watch that. I'll have to watch that movie. I try. There are a lot of movies that I try to avoid.
Why?
I don't know. I think because I had a friend who long ago we went and saw The Matrix, and coming out I laughed. I said, "It really makes you think," and he goes, "No, it makes me understand." And I'm like, "Oh God, this is the future of media for us. We're screwed." But there are great movies like is it Anon? It has basically everything's implanted in a neural optic in the eye, and as you're walking, the AI system knows everything about you, so it tailors all the ads for you.
Oh, this is in.
It's got Clive Owen.
Tom Cruise.
Nope. No, that was a Minority Report. This one has Clive Owen in it.
Report. But there's this kind of technology in Minority Report.
Yeah, exactly. And they make phone calls by staring at a mirror, because when you're looking at the mirror, the eye shows you, and what you're seeing in your eye, because the eye has a video display, is the person who's staring in the mirror at themselves. So it's like a video call. But there's a great line in it.
If you have the name of the movie.
I think it's Anon, Anoun, I think. Anoun.
Okay.
But she has a great line in the end. She goes, "It's not that I'm afraid. It's not that I don't, want people. It's not that I have anything to hide. It's I just don't have to. I don't want to share everything." And I think that's kind of the thing. And how much data mining is being done by ChatGPT? I always think about that as I'm using it, but at the same time, is the data mining helping develop it to make it better and better? Just like I think it would be absolutely fantastic if we could change the name of Bixby, or we could change the name of Google, or these things where we can say, instead of saying like, "Hey, I'm not going to do it, so I don't want to access it," but maybe I say like, a big Iron Man fan, "Hey Jarvis," and there was
hey R2D2.
Yeah, something like that. Let's just come up with, "Hey Michael, can you help me with this?" And but at the same time, then are we faking human interaction so much that human interaction becomes non-existent? Or does this help people who are maybe not so social become more socially interactive with people? So it's these weird, I look at things in weird ways. And I think that has a lot to do with part of my background and a job I had one time, in a career I was in for a while, where it's looking at both sides of the chessboard all the time. And part of that, I understand, was with Tor. The Navy Navy Research and Development came up with Tor, but they also had to deal with if we release it to the world, bad things will happen. But if we keep it to ourselves, then its purpose becomes null and void, because the only people using it are these types of people. And then all of a sudden, if someone's on this network, then we know that they're a dissident. They're a journalist who's outspoken about something happening in the world, and they become targets. And it's a moral decision you have to make of the greater good. Is it better for the greater good to have these people have their voices heard and risk the bad things that happen? And how do we prevent those things from happening?
There's another news I would like us to comment. Let me put it. So, Chrome OS. Apparently, Google is running some Chrome OS experiments on Android. Details are still slim, but we know that Google has been showing off to its partners the ability to run through a virtual machine a special but up-to-date thorough Chrome build of Chromium OS, the open source release of Chrome OS, on a Pixel 8 hooked to an external display. And so the journalist says Chrome OS currently has built-in PDF editor and annotator, a presentation-ready screen capture tools for work and school, a new screencast app with an on-screen annotation and Canva app, blah blah blah. Just to say that this can run properly compared to DeX, and they say, and she says, I can do 95% of my real work on Chrome OS, but without missing a bit. I can barely do 20% on Android, even though modern Android phones have all the necessary horsepower, RAM and storage to handle all those workloads. It's just that the OS wasn't built for it, nor is the mobile version of the Chrome web browser, because apparently, well, having Chrome OS gives you not an Android skin of the web browser, but a real version of the web browser. What do you think? Do you think it's a good idea? Would you use it instead of DeX? How do you see it?
Well, I want to address it on two comments in there. One, that DeX is only 20% functional, things like that. That's not true. That's absolutely incorrect. You're just not using DeX properly. That's number one, because when you load up DeX and you open Chrome, right in the sidebar menu, when you click on the little lines to go to look at your favorite or go to your history and whatnot, and you scroll down, there is a piece there that says desktop OS, desktop environment. And that creates a desktop version of Chrome. Am I concerned when I use Chrome OS over DeX? I don't think that's a choice I'm ever going to have to make. Let's be honest. In the last 2 unpackings, we have seen so much Chrome and so many Google collabs with Samsung for DeX, though it's not mentioned as much, but we see it. We can see it's there. I'm pretty sure what will happen with DeX is they're just going to start integrating those extension capabilities into DeX from Chromium, from Chrome OS, from Chromium. I think if you are really willing to make the switch to a mobile-only life and using your device, I think you can. I was doing some YouTube shorts for a while, and I think you remember when I was doing these. And I went to a networking thing, and instead of asking me about the business or anything like that, people are like, how did you switch to a mobile only? How do we do this? I go, you just do it. You make the conscious decision that you're going to do these things. And yeah, maybe there's a few things like I don't get graphical signatures in Microsoft Outlook for Android. Okay, great. I can do it in Samsung email. I can do it in Gmail. I can do it in these other areas. Why do I have to use it? And I think what really hurts in that aspect is we see the incredible loyalty of Microsoft with that, because you can do that in Outlook for iOS, but not for Android. So their loyalty is more to Apple than it is to, Google, because Google stands as open source. Apple is very closed, and that's the concept that Windows has always wanted, this self-contained environment where you have to use everything. It kind of blew up in their face with Windows Mobile. But I honestly believe she's a journalist. She's a reporter. Yeah. There is absolutely no reason she needs anything more than not even Microsoft. She can use Microsoft Word Mobile and Google Docs and have everything she needs. She needs nothing more than that. She is not doing, publication production with any of those things when she writes an article. There's somebody else in the back end doing that for her. So there are a lot of things out there that you can't do this. You don't need to do this. Like, ask yourself, when someone says you won't be able to do this, ask yourself, do I actually need to be able to do it? It's the same reason why for a long time Photoshop made, what was it called? Photoshop Express and their Video Editor Express, which took out like 45% of the functionality of the programs, but it was the 45% that nobody actually used except for really high-level artists. Okay, great. I lost everything I don't use. Did I really lose anything? So yes, I think she's absolutely wrong. And no, I don't see myself having to make that choice. I think as that evolves, you're going to see DeX evolve with it. And we're going to see an announcement of how DeX and Chrome OS are now fully integrated environments. Samsung had an opportunity years ago to get rid of Android completely and go to open Android, develop everything on their own, and they chose not to. They got rid of having the Linux on DeX with the Linux environments. They did these things for a reason, and I think they did it to become more integrated in this and help expand these capabilities. And I think Chrome OS is being driven by DeX. I think DeX is driving Google to make Chrome OS more accessible on mobile devices. So I think it's more the other way around. I don't think Android's saying Google's saying they're going, we have to crush DeX. Nope. I think they're looking at it and saying, oh my God, DeX does all this stuff. We have these capabilities. Let's start folding this all in because this is the future.
Yeah, what would be the the best way to do it. I think that's how they are thinking of the problem.
Yeah. And I think integrating these functions into DeX would be awesome. And I think it would be, I think we'll see it happen. I think the thing that lacks the most in Chrome mobile is the ability to add the little I'm losing my train of thought. The extensions, Chrome extensions that don't work in a mobile environment.
Yeah. Totally
so
agree.
do we really
but
need
you
Chrome
can
OS?
use some of them on the Samsung Navigator, right?
Right. And do we really need Chrome OS, or do we just need a way better version of Chrome for mobile? Or do we need to have Chrome OS to get that better version? If that's what it takes, then we're going to see that integrate more into Samsung as well.
Yeah, agreed. What do you think of space exploration? Dope or nope?
Oh, totally dope. Totally dope. I love it. I have a friend who is he actually, Dr. Nate Daly, is his PhD in public administration, specifically space, works with MITRE Corporation. He is all about space, and he's been that way his whole life that I've known him. We've often talked about how space is going to change things, but also space exploration starts on the Earth, and we need to utilize, we can't go test things in space, but we can test things under the water because it's a similar environment. And that leads us to protecting our oceans, and now we're going to be protecting the space, because let's face it, there's a lot of junk up there that doesn't need to be there. And the more we explore, the more we can get rid of stuff, the better off it is. I mean, the ability to find resources that we have so few of here versus what's available out there, it goes back to, you have an electric car.
I do.
Electric cars require, in the United States, fossil fuels to power them. You have to plug them in. Our power grid is run by fossil fuels.
Oh,
France, you have the advantage of having, 19 nuclear reactors that power the country? Something like that. It's an enormous number. So it makes a lot more sense. But what if we didn't have to strip mine Africa for cobalt if we could grab it from an asteroid out in space? What about gold and silver and things that we don't find as much of until technology advances for us to find these things? Now we can pull them from space. What about overpopulation? What about space farming? I mean, the possibilities are absolutely futuristic, sci-fi, limitless. You could have an entire farming system there that never has to shut down because it just stays stationary again as the Earth moves and changes in seasons. It stays with the sun. That's incredible. I mean, that's a step towards, ending, world hunger. That's a step towards lowering. Now, there are downsides. Obviously, we need plant life and vegetation to scrub carbon, but what happens, hey, colonization of other planets. I love it. I have a t-shirt, Occupy Mars, all for
Mars.
all for
right.
it. Yeah, totally dope. Love space.
What about hydrogen planes? Nope or dope?
Oh, wow. That's
You're in the,
really, that's one of those ones that you gotta think hard about. And I think society today has done such a great job of trying to erase history that we forget things like airships, dirigibles,
airships,
blimps. Yeah.
Oh,
blimps.
yeah. I have a friend who has a company doing that.
Yeah,
for surveillance.
That's scary. They used to fill those with hydrogen. Because it's lighter than air and it would float. The problem is it's also highly flammable. Yeah, it's highly flammable, highly combustible. But am I okay with hydrogen planes? Absolutely, because hydrogen fuel cells are fantastic. Your byproduct is water, and it's clean water. So, these are all... Now, if you said, what are your thoughts on electric planes? Well, I think they're great for commuters going to and from, like, here to Miami or here to Orlando or from Paris down to Nice. these short distances, I don't foresee them as a very long range thing. And again, the sustainability of it, clean, yes, sustainable, no. Most of the world still operates off of fossil fuels for electrical production.
True.
But I would love to see them harness that. I guess I'd lean more to dope. I think that'd be really cool, and maybe it would shut up people about traveling in private aircraft.
I know that Airbus is really making it a priority for hydrogen planes.
Well, hydrogen is completely renewable.
Boeing is busy fixing other problems, I think.
Boeing has enough problems that they need to worry about before they need to worry about hydrogen planes. I think the market for hydrogen planes, though, are going to be less in the terms of commercial use and more in the use of business aviation. And cargo. Business aviation in general, between passenger or cargo flights. I would love to see hydrogen become more vehicle-based for cars. I would love to see it become I would love to see them start doing large-scale hydrogen fuel cells tied to, smaller nuclear systems to run trains. I think specifically the United States has gotten away from rail over the last 100 years, and I think they need to push back into it. Much of Europe still has a very extensive rail network, and I think America should have that too. So I think hydrogen planes are semi-dope, but I think hydrogen as a source for powering vehicles is extremely dope.
Agreed. What about the Apple Vision Pro? Is there a future for VR and AR? Mixed reality, in your opinion?
I think we saw Samsung do this at one point. We've seen a lot of people do this. I think Google Glasses were probably the most functional concept of this, but they were way too expensive. Nope. I think it'll be a success because Apple said it is, but I think it's a nope. Again, it's going to be used for adult stuff.
Well, apparently they lowered the next batch of production because of a low demand. That's what I've heard.
I can see that.
So,
I can see that. I mean, how many people are going to walk around the street with these things on and walk into a car?
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
But Google Glasses, you could see through. That's what made them cool.
Totally. So have you seen this this video of someone modifying an Android Samsung Android ROM and making DeX enabled on the small screen of the phone?
I have not. I avoid Reddit like there's no tomorrow, just because I suddenly feel like Alice in Wonderland and going through a looking glass. Like, it's just going down a rabbit hole that never ends. But this is awesome.
True.
I love this. And I have actually said for a very long time that the Fold, because it opens into a tablet, when it opens, that should be more tablet-esque, and it should have the same capabilities of being a DeX environment like on an S9 tablet. I love this. I would love to see this become mainstream. I would love to see Samsung absolutely embrace this.
Yeah, and they've made a topic on the official Samsung forum to ask for it as an official feature. So I've supported it. So
I'm going to jump out and support that too.
Great.
I would support that all day long. You know what I would also support, and maybe I'm just a little behind. I would love to have DeX support multi-display, even if it's just my Fold being the second display, to where I can actually use my Fold just say for messaging and my dock for, actual work, and not have to blur one out or the other depending on which screen I'm in. Samsung really needs to push that, because just the pure graphic capabilities of these phones is already there. It needs to be. It needs to be a multi-display. They need to step up and, like the iPad did, where you can have you can have an iPad Pro with one and have the secondary display. Yes, absolutely need that. But I love small DeX. That would be awesome.
But I don't know if you know this feature, but you can actually move your mouse from DeX to the smartphone screen.
Yeah, but doesn't it blur out one? Like if I go over and start doing something on my Fold, I think it blurs out what I'm doing on my big screen. Like it doesn't.
No,
it's not fully
works.
integrated. It does.
No, it works. It's just that you cannot drag and drop one app from a screen to the other. You just have to restart the app. But it works great. For me, that's one of the best feature of DeX because it gives continuity to your experience, to your computing experience. So, I really love having Spotify or WhatsApp on the small screen of the Fold, and a more productive app on the big one.
And
you said earlier. You said earlier you gave one tip about DeX. I don't recall it. What was it? Was it on Samsung Navigator?
Just being able to go from one to the other. Like I'm working on a small document, and I open up my lapdock and connect it, and as long as I closed it over here, I can pop it open here. It's the fluidity of it. But I also the other big DeX thing I love, and it's stupid. Everybody tells me how dumb it is. That it's one of my favorite things is I love screen capture. I love just being able to click here, boom, capture the screen. I think that's fantastic.
Agree.
I do really. Now you have me on this topic. I really want to see DeX on the Fold, especially in the open environment. That would be
same. Yeah,
that would just be awesome.
to have the same experience as the tablet one.
And that way you could actually literally drag and drop from one screen to the other. That would be great.
That would be great. I think it's coming. Let's wait a year or two.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm actually DeX. Yeah, I'm going to use it till the end. I'm going to use it until they tell me we're not going to use it ever again, and then I'm going to be upset.
So now it's time to present a use case of Samsung DeX in the professional world, in B2B. And sorry, it's in French, but I'll translate very quick. So it's with the company Dalkia, who is part of EDF, Electricity of France. And basically, they have deployed DeX for their frontline workers, operators on the field. And it works just great. So they have divided their total cost of ownership by 3. They used to have PC and smartphones for 3 or 4 years at a cost of 3,000 euros or dollars, quite similar. And now it's only 1,000. So divided by 3. That's a lot. And
absolutely.
The only problem that they have is about the, how would you translate that? The break on digital transformation. You know, there's an age gap between their employees, and some are still okay to change and because they are younger and use mobile-only solutions because they can adapt. And some just say, oh, just give me an old, reliable PC, Windows PC that I know so that I can work efficiently. And this is a big break for mobile-only, I think, and that's why we need to go through the younger generations who knows way better Android than old people.
Thanks. I think I fall into the old people category. Actually, I believe that at least Gen X can very easily migrate into this world. most of it we created in the first place, and behind the scenes, laying the foundational work. I think this is fantastic. This is one of the ways that at JustCharteit we are able to onboard people very quickly who want to be charter brokers with us. Is there's no cost of acquisition in terms of equipment. We create a username and a password, and they're into our environment, and we can control it. I think this is fantastic. This is really what the future of mobility is right here. We're seeing it. We're seeing it in France with them. We need to see it more here. The problem in America is you have large companies like Microsoft and Dell whose business model is all centered around computer environments, hardware and software. And that's what they're trying to keep their foothold in. And their lobbyists are incredibly powerful at that point. And that's where we're seeing the holdback. And I think it's going to take a lot of small business change and small and medium before large business starts integrating more to the bring your own device world. But that's going to be fantastic. And obviously you're helping pave the way. I see the mirror books there. So. Which, by the way, you do have the best lapdock available.
Thank you. Well, it's not the best we can do. It's the best we could do. But hopefully in a year or two, we'll be able to release a new version, much better, with all the feedback that we have experienced now to make a better product.
Yeah, it is phenomenal.
And actually, I have a Tell me.
No. I said I actually my original lapdock that I got years and years ago is due to be replaced. So.
Which one is it?
I have a NextDock Touch that I need to replace. And actually, I was talking to a friend of mine who owns a Bang & Olufsen store, and he wanted to talk with you a little bit as I'm looking at a new business venture with them here in the Tampa Bay area, to talk to you a little bit more about using the NextDocks to integrate with the Bang & Olufsen TVs, especially with streaming audio sources, and being able to work in our smaller studio environment. So it's definitely something that the generations are seeing. I'm also seeing a lot more younger generations taking on Android environments as opposed to Apple environments. So I think that'll be interesting.
Oh, you do?
America's a big Apple market. It really is.
It's 50-50.
Yeah, but on the global side, Apple has a very small market share comparatively to all the Android products out there, iOS versus Android. But I'm starting to see more and more people make those changes. It's incredible, especially younger people. But what I see a lot of too is older people carrying S24s and flips and folds. People in my generation who would have been diehard Apple fans. I think people are just tired of the lack of true innovation on the iOS side and the Apple side.
It's very slow. Yeah, there's no.
They're about 5 years behind.
Every time you buy a new iPhone, it looks like you have the same exact one that you had before. There's nothing new, really. And
there's not a whole lot of new functionality in it. I remember there was an absolute joke one time made about it. I think Samsung did it. Everyone was in line for the new iPhone, and they're like, "I heard they moved the headphone jack to the bottom." Boom!
Boom!
Like,
I remember this one.
And I remember when the 3GS came out, and Apple was like, "You can now cut, copy, and paste between apps," and the whole world lost their mind. Like, oh, God, what a revolutionary concept! And I kept thinking to myself, my 1998 Nokia 9000 IL communicator could do that, and my BlackBerry could do that, and every Symbian device I ever had could do that. This is nothing new.
Yeah, I remember. So there's one last moment, which is the accessory test. I have an accessory I would like to show you. We talked about what's in your bag, And you said you had a couple of power bank. Actually, I have this one. I use this one from ElecJet. It's the PowerPi P20. It's a really big one, like 45. It's able to output 45 watts, so charge a mirror book or a laptop. It's what I like. It's that it's very compact, very small for a big battery. Like it's the size of my hand, and it can charge up to 2 devices. But really, it can last for around 1.5 charge of MirrorBook and maybe 3-4 times the charge of your phone. So really, I really love this one.
I'll have to look at that.
Watt-hour.
I'll have to look into that one. Right now, I'm using an Anker.
Oh, the Anker.
That's it's a MagSafe one. There was a very short period of time where we had considered using Apple products, and I got this one for my partner, and it's really fantastic. It's been keeping my phone at bay during our chat session here. But that one looks amazing. I've actually looked at some bigger ones. While we're on the topic of it, what are your thoughts on GAN? From the new GAN, the new GAN ones from the GANs from Anker.
I haven't much. I don't know much about it. Like, what does it look like?
They look very similar. They just use a different battery technology, so you get a lot of power in a compact space.
Oh.
And they have one that I really like. It's 10,000 milliamps. I think it outputs 45 watts, but it's also a charger. So you can plug it in, charge a lapdock, charge your phone, charge the battery up, and then when you need to, just walk away with it and keep your phone charged.
That's amazing. It's a good idea, actually. What's the name of this one?
It's by Anker, and I think it's called GAN, GANAN. They're pretty neat. Haven't invested in one yet. Again, it's one of those, do I want to spend $100 on it or just keep what I have that works fine? But, one of the things I'd like to see, I think you were talking about a new MirrorBook at some point. I'd love to see an integrated webcam. I would love to see applications, like maybe this one, because it's web-based, I could have set the GoPro up and used it as an external camera.
Because the problem is that you can actually plug an external camera to your phone and on Android, but the softwares, they don't support it. The only one that supported is BlueJean for video conference application.
And send me a link to that.
Teams or nor Teams or Google Meet or this one supported.
Or Zoom.
And that's a big problem. Or Zoom, right?
And it goes back to what we were saying. The biggest limitations on the mobile only is the app support.
Applications,
yeah.
Totally,
I mean, these devices are incredibly capable. We can do AI on them, but we can't hook up an external webcam.
Oh yeah, but
I'm
we
lost.
could do it very easily. I mean, the drivers exist. The drivers exist, and it exists also for microphones. So this is an external microphone. It works well. So we could do the same exact thing for video.
Maybe you should develop a mirror conference, like video setup, video app.
Yeah, but the market is too small for now. Maybe in the future. The thing I would love to develop as a software would be a virtual web browser, meaning that you click on the icon of Chrome on DeX, and it runs not locally, but on a virtual machine elsewhere. But you have the same, I mean, the desktop version of Chrome with the extensions and everything. You see my point?
I think that goes back to another great movie called Antitrust, where he says the answer is not in the box, it's in the band. And I think the bandwidth limitation becomes an issue with that. Although, I don't know how familiar you are with Mr. Mobile. Yeah, but I don't know how familiar you are with Mr. Mobile. He's a YouTuber, and he did a whole thing with a dock, a lapdock, and a phone. And there is a company out there that you purchase Windows access to a remote Windows server, and he did like the free one. He basically uses it to play games and stuff, but he does point out there is a little bit of a lag in terms of that. And I know you and I have talked. You use a lot of server, like Parsec.
I use Parsec. The lag is not a limitation. I mean, it's very few. So I work like this, so I don't see it as a problem, especially for very light use. When you play video games, it's just insane. You can't. But if it's just for web browsing, it's totally enough.
And for like office suite environments, it's fine.
Yeah, it is. Do you have books or podcasts to recommend?
To be honest, not really. In terms of business books, I think most people don't realize that most of business centers around sales. So I'm a big fan of Ryan Serhant, Sell It Like Serhant, Big Money Energy, and I just got branded like Serhant for doing social media branding. I'm a big fan of those and his. Believe it or not, I'm a big fan of the 4-hour work week. I just understand that it takes a lot to get to where you have a 4-hour work week, and I don't think most people do. There is another one, the one-page marketing plan. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to start a business, or you're looking to start your business, the most important thing of your business plan is your marketing plan. And Alan Dibb does a great job of distilling it down to basically one page in quadrants. And I think that's a fantastic one. Podcasts, I do love Mr. Mobile. He is a big Android proponent, which is nice in a world of YouTube channels that are all Apple's the greatest thing in the world. He's not an Apple fanboy, which is nice. I love YouTube. I love YouTubers that vlog more than do tech advice or anything. So Brett Conti is amazing. Eric Conover is incredible, and I followed him for years. I've gone through his transitions with him on screen, seeing how he's changed and grown and evolved. Yeah, and he even talks, a lot of his earlier content he's taken down, unfortunately, but he talks about how he develops and gets into it and how he grows and the goals he sets for himself. Casey Neistat is always incredible to watch just because he's an incredible filmmaker. But I don't get into things like, Mr. Beast and, I'm going to go destroy a Ferrari because I can, or any of these people. It's just, it doesn't work for me. There has to be some level of return on my investment for me to take the time to do it, because really the most valuable asset any of us possess is time.
It's time.
Recently, I know you and I have talked about doing this podcast a couple of times, and things have gotten interrupted. And most recently, I think I mentioned to you, I just gotten out of the hospital. I'm 50 years old. I had a heart attack on Friday, and I realized I need to step back and slow down a little bit and take some time and maybe not overindulge in things, but more for entertainment. So I've become highly addicted to Amazon Prime videos, like watching movies or documentaries.
Just to slow down and entertain.
Yeah, just to slow down, spend time with my son, who's 8 weeks old today, or tomorrow. But yeah, time is so valuable, and you don't realize how little of it you have until you're being rushed to the hospital, having a stent put in, and because we're all told if it's the left side, it's a heart attack. You don't realize they put the stent in the center artery of my heart, which is like the one nobody thinks of. Oh, that's just stress. Just work through it.
Yeah.
And you got to take the time to make it enjoyable. So it has to be like, I love car videos. I'm a big car guy. It is funny. I'm more into cars than I am to airplanes. It's kind of funny considering what I do for a living. I love home automation. I love audio video. I'm a huge fan of, obviously, Bang & Olufsen. I use all their products, but design and just maybe now just more embracing creative sides. I do love audio book stuff, like entertainment books, like Snow Crash is a great one. There's a book called Life After Google, which talks a lot about the more of like the blockchain life, where we're going back from being the product to paying for the product, and what happens in that. And the same author wrote a book, Life After Television. But as far as podcasts, not really. Yours, that's about it. I obviously follow all of the stuff on LinkedIn. We've known each other for about a year now. I'll definitely rewatch this one, see how bad I look. But I mean, you and I have known each other for about a year, and I think a year ago we talked about things like that. And it's like, a lot of it, I went down that rabbit hole so wholeheartedly when I wanted to start a YouTube channel that 14 years on, I still haven't started one because I thought I needed like $100,000 worth of equipment to do something. And I thought, well, I need $100,000 worth of equipment or $25,000 worth of equipment and cameras to start a YouTube channel. I can go start a business for $500. See greater returns faster.
Yeah.
So it became more about time, and so I kind of avoid that. I don't spend a lot of time on social media.
Yeah, it's a waste of time most of the time.
Yeah, I do. I like old TV shows, so I watch I rewatch the Saint series with Roger Moore from the 60s. I listen to the Bond books. I listen to the Saint books. It takes a lot for me to engage in a book. Like, there's so many books that I've wasted credits on that I think I got halfway through and just gave up on. Like, oh my God. But if you have not listened to and or read Snow Crash, absolutely must do it. It's a phenomenal book. It's all about the techno future, and like people literally, they live in storage containers, like, mini storage units, because they can't afford regular apartments. And like the big thing is to become a pizza delivery guy, because that's how you make the most money, and you get all these awards and crazy stuff. And they have weapons to battle each other because you've got to get there first. It's really kind of great. ETA Prime is another, I guess, podcast I really like. He does a lot with ETA Prime does a lot of microcomputer stuff. So very pocketable computers, very Raspberry Pi builds, these little 7-inch laptops that are from GDP. I like those. I like him. There's one other one I like, and it's sad. He pops up because I subscribe, but I can never remember his name. But he did a fantastic, and I'll send you the link to it, talking about DeX and the benefit of lapdocs. And he reviews a bunch of them. And one of the things he points out is we're always so quick. Why would we replace a laptop and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on doing that, when we spend thousands of dollars on our phones, and we can just get the lapdock one-time purchase, or I found 4 years, and every time you get a new phone, you get a new computer. So I like his, and again, he's not a big Apple fanboy. I think the biggest thing is finding people who are very into like DeX and Android podcasts and that kind of ability, which is hard. A lot of them come out of India. I see a lot of when I do DeX searches, a lot of them are coming from India. So a year ago, you and I talked. I wanted to start one all about DeX, and mobile lifestyle. And I thought, as I researched it more, I'm like, it's such a narrow market to devote so much time to. But at the same time, is it still relevant and important? But you were saying earlier about an older generation, and I think the older generation needs to see how they migrate over and don't need to fire up the CRT screen and sit on their computer, and they can just pull out their little tablet and chat with their grandkids and do things. And I
Simple
think
things. Yep.
yeah, I think it's that, and I think that's something like your channel is going to be so amazing for that as you start bridging the generations of how does this equate to somebody who's older versus someone who's younger. You think about it, a lot of younger people already know how to do all the stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
But if you take someone my age who doesn't do this on a regular basis, they it may become a challenge. There was actually a thing back in the early 2000s, like 2010, early, like 9 to 12, where it was for seniors, for the baby boomers, to start embracing iPads and tablets and doing these things and smartphones and getting away from the flip phone and things like that. So I'd like to see, I would love Adaptify. I would love to see podcasts more like that, which is why I love yours. I was so excited when you said you were going to start doing it. I was like, oh my God, I want to.
All right. Thank you very much, Justin, for being with me. I hope you enjoyed that.
Oh, I've had a blast.
Thank you for all your advices. So remember, relax, take time to live, and we hope to see you next time, maybe in a year or two.
Yeah, sometime
with the extended display feature, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime I'd happy to come back and maybe have a little more of the tips and tricks I use, but I can't think of any that I really use. I just probably because they're so fluid, and it's one of those things where I'll sit there and say, "Oh, hey, do it like this." I don't think about it. I just do it. But thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for the friendship over the last year. It's been great.
Thank you for listening to that podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.